Hello, we are the Ransom Fighters. I am Matt. My teammates are Brandon, Felix, and Saul. We were brought in because PharmaCoir approached Pharmaco regarding a potential merger, but Pharmaco is dealing with a hacking scandal affecting its share price and deal value. There are rumors of mergers and speculators causing share price volatility. The 11 directors on Pharmaco's board may have incentives to rush the deal and dump potential toxic assets due to their nature of the contracts and poor cybersecurity posture. We assume that PharmaCoir has an excellent cybersecurity posture. We have been working for them for a long time. Now I'm going to turn it over to Brandon to give you a brief summary of a timeline of events.
Thanks, Matt. Pharmaco's executive team and its IP assets were targeted by phishing campaigns, according to the Q2 cyber brief prepared by the Pharmaco CISO. Although phishing campaigns were up industry-wide, these tailored attacks are concerning. On day zero, there was a ransomware attack on the customer database and backup system. The hackers demanded $25,000 to unlock both. The company was also affected by an email theft affecting the deal team. The CISO was not involved in the deal team and could not secure the M&A proceedings. Day 2. 100 anonymized health records related to clinical trials were stolen, and $100,000 was allocated to cover related payouts to this theft. Day 6. A previously undetected data breach was discovered. 200,000 PHI records were extracted months prior and put on sale on the darknet, prompting management to set aside $75 million to cover payouts. Today, we stand with a few open concerns. There was no clean data room, no deal price pegged before this event, the CISO was not included on the deal team, and potential open breaches are still in play. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Saul, who will talk about the NIST framework.
Thank you, Brandon. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, otherwise known as NIST, outlines a framework by which to follow. There are 5 main items: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Pharmaco did the right thing by following this framework. However, the maturity models were uneven, and not implementing critical functions left much to be desired. There was a NIST maturity model provided which showed where the company was according to NIST. According to it, the company had the identified metric ranked as defined. However, Pharmaco's description of IT assets were insufficient. Identity access management was not mentioned. Protect was ranked as repeatable in the maturity scale. However, ransomware rendered Pharmaco's backups ineffective. Detect ranked as initial. Pharmaco failed to identify that they were hacked prior to day 0, which was discovered during day 6. The file integrity management processes were not mentioned. Respond was categorized as non-existent, followed by no apparent response to day 0 attacks, which identified as a ransomware attack and email hack. Recover on the maturity scale lies on initial. The unreliable on-prem and off-site backups and hardware errors left them unable to recover from the breach. I will be turning it over to Matt, who will talk about the flaws in Pharmaco's corporate structure as well as the regulatory agencies involved.
Thanks, Saul. Pharmaco's corporate structure did not promote a culture of security. The CISO was also not included in the deal team. In order to promote a culture of security, Pharmaco should structure their C-suite so that their CISO and CIO are able to easily communicate with the rest of the C-suite, as well as adding the CISO to the deal team to further negotiations. Having a company structure like this is very uncommon. A modern corporation often has the CISO and the CIO reporting to the CEO. During a cybersecurity incident, the CISO and CIO need to be able to act decisively when an incident occurs. To protect the company's value, there are several options through which to navigate this deal. To start, PharmaCoir should reassess if the net value of the acquisition is positive. They should then renegotiate based on our findings later in our presentation. It is likely that PharmaCoir will be able to renegotiate from a position of strength. Another option is selective acquisition or carve out of their most profitable divisions, such as their North America, Europe, and Asia divisions. Their R&D department and relevant production lines for most of their non-synergistic drugs to add to our portfolio. There are a number of regulatory agencies that may fine Pharmaco for its negligence, such as the ICO's GDPR, which states that you have to notify of a breach within 72 hours, of which failure to do so can result in a 10 million euro fine, or 2% of the Pharmaco's global turnover. Under Japan's Act on Protection of Personal Information, violation of an order by the Data Protection Authority is punishable by a fine up to 1 million Japanese yen, with the FTC failing to notify them during a breach of PHI can lead to a civil penalty of up to $50,120 per violation. Because medical records were involved, we can expect HIPAA violations, which can incur costs up to $1.5 million. PIPL imposes a maximum fine of up to 50 million won, or $7.8 million, or 5% of the annual revenue of a preceding financial year. And the SEC maximum penalties are 1,000 per violation. My teammate Brandon is going to discuss the damages and fines Pharmaco faces.
Thanks, Matt. Some damages are contingent on the posture of Pharmaco after diligence. These costs include human and non-human capital costs. Human capital includes the cost of hiring a new cybersecurity team and hiring consultants for the purpose of the merger. Non-human capital includes purchasing the infrastructure needed to support secure business operations, the time and money needed to harden networks and applications against attacks, and the risk that Pharmaco's intellectual property could have been stolen by competitors and reverse engineered for a cheaper price. There is a range of damages based on fines and contingent costs. The best case scenario includes all of the regulations and costs, assuming that they're at their highest. And the worst case, it might be shocking to hear, but if you add up all the fines from every regulation and assume that the SEC and FTC treats each breach as a violation, this company could have a negative net present value. I'm going to turn it over to Saul, who will talk about the different PR risks and strategies Pharmaco and PharmaQuire both faced and should follow.
Thanks, Brandon. Pharmaco has a number of risks and must determine a strategy by which to follow in order to protect its brand reputation. Pharmaco must implement a damage control-focused PR strategy. Hiring outside legal counsel and crisis communication consultants will be indicated. All relevant regulatory agencies must be informed of the breach to minimize exposures to fines. Financially, support contingent liabilities in the form of lawsuits and settlements. To sum up the danger, the company has a legal and PR standpoint. They need to make sure that they settle things from each angle, pay restitution to the victims of the breaches, keep their shareholders abreast of the situation, and shape public opinion to their advantage to reassure the public that the situation is in hand. PharmaQuire's PR strategy is drastically different from Pharmaco's. PharmaQuire should immediately hire an outside legal team to review our PR strategy, while an outside PR consultant manages our image this quarter, with an option to extend until signed to close. Privately, we should align our internal messaging company-wide and ensure everyone outside the deal team believes that there is no deal. Solidifying the joint team and identifying all stakeholders under the tent is the next priority. We should stress the need for confidentiality within the joint team. Publicly, PharmaQuire should engage in strategic communications and present itself as if the merger is not happening. Make sure to remind the public at large that we are two separate companies and to distance ourselves from Pharmaco to limit the blowback from the breach. At this time, I will turn over the presentation to Brandon, who will discuss the short, mid, and long-range objectives of PharmaQuire within the pre-M&A phase.
Thanks, Felix. PharmaQuire's short-range objectives include conducting IT due diligence, setting up a clean data room, and formalizing the deal team. Mid-range objectives include cleaning out Pharmaco's network and ensuring open breaches are eliminated. We also want to conduct a traditional gray box pen test and then implement continuous pen testing throughout the M&A lifecycle. Additionally, an integration management team must be stood up. Long-range objectives include applying PharmaQuire's governance to Pharmaco, including policies and current cybersecurity solutions. A new incident response plan for the unified company will also be created. My teammate Felix will go through all of these in depth with you. Go ahead, Felix.
Thanks, Brandon. Before signing, diligence must be performed on IT assets and personnel. First, a clean data room must be created and an official deal team must be appointed. The IT diligence process includes an IT asset inventory, personal inventory, endpoint security, and identification of high priv accounts. We initiate that process within the first week. The clean data room is up and the deal team is stood up during this week as well. Week 2, we begin conducting a detailed IT risk assessment and evaluate Pharmaco's data governance protocols. IT and personal inventory is to be completed by the end of this week. Week 3, we present our findings to the PharmAquire board and begin our assessment of the deal value negotiation process. Week 4, we review the final results of the IT due diligence process, determine the deal value, and present our findings to the PharmAquire board. At this point, the deal is either a go or a no-go. Assuming the deal is a go, that they've agreed to a price peg and negotiations take place, we proceed to mid-range objectives. Mid-range objectives include all sign-to-close proceedings. The sign-to-close period can range depending on deal complexity. We assume this period will last 4 months. We start by creating the integration team, we discuss the strategy going forward, and focus our efforts on cleaning up the damage from the ransomware attacks. To ensure we have cryptographic proof that all files are not edited without authorization, especially log files, file integrity management via Netrix will be implemented. This will address the protect column of NIST. Then, we subject our system to basic network and application hardening, and by reducing the attack surface, we can help prevent future attacks. In month 4, we implement the integration strategy. Traditional gray box testing will be initiated by CrowdStrike to provide us with a baseline prior to the implementation of a continuous pen testing protocol for duration of the M&A. Finally, by month 5, we should have a cost synergy capture plan and we'll be ready to move forward to our long-range objectives. In the long term, we want to develop a strong cybersecurity posture. This includes creating a new incident response plan and applying the parent company's governance to Pharmaco and improving as needed. By year 1, quarter 2, we plan on having tabletop exercises performed. By year 2, full synergy should be achieved and should have excellent maturity levels on a NIST framework with a rank of defined across all functions with future plans to reach managed. Saul here is going to talk to you about how to implement a culture of security following a defense in depth model. Saul, take it away.
Thanks, Felix. There are many aspects to a full-on defense in-depth culture of cybersecurity. This includes personnel, technology, and strategy. To improve the detect phase of the NIST maturity model from the initial stage, implementing an EDR or XDR tool like Trend Micro's Vision 1 for continuous monitoring and anomaly detection. Combining it with SIEM for a long analysis can help identify malicious activity. Without a doubt, implementing worm drives for backup is a must to ensure data immutability. The 3-2-1 rule enhances backup strategies and makes it hard for hackers to steal data. Additionally, a zero-trust architecture for critical systems and one two-way trust for non-critical areas can effectively strengthen security measures. Furthermore, segmented and segregated network and decoupled architecture improve security by limiting lateral movement and containing breaches. Is the best practice for enhancing security posture. I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who will provide the summary of our findings.
Thank you, Saul. To summarize, internal messaging is critical in order to align PharmaQuire stakeholders and employees to the current public messaging. The merger should be denied publicly and any mention of talks downplayed. PharmaQuire's corporate sovereignty should be emphasized in this phase. To move forward with the deal, PharmaQuire should first set up a proper deal team and data room, then move towards IT diligence and renegotiating deal value. Deal value will fluctuate based on the results of IT diligence. If the deal goes through, PharmaQuire will want to implement the tech upgrade cash program to upgrade their NIST guidelines. All of these things work towards the end goal of making security everybody's responsibility. Thank you for bringing us on to advise. We hope to help you with your sign to close and post close initiatives should the deal go through.